Good morning, guys. Thursday here in Velvethamma, and we are back on the Duramax, sanding some primer. Oh yeah. So I've already done the passenger side, charging the camera up here this morning and getting the heat going so I could turn the torpedo heater off and you guys could actually hear me. So that has been gone over. I had guide code on it and you can still see some remnants of such along the bottom. I went over that with my finished DA. That guy right there with a interface pad and a 400 grit disc, just to knock the peel out of it and help it feather in faster so I'm not wet sanding myself to death. Then, as you've seen in previous shows, there's a block with some 400 on it. Been soaking in my warm water because it's cold out here. There's the block. Soft block 1, that's a motor guard block. It's my favorite. I also have one of these sandy sponges here. This is a 320/400 grit sponge. And to finish her off, this one's kind of beat up, but this is a 5/600 one, and that's kind of what I got here, and I figured I'd bring you guys along for a little bit. Other noteworthy items in last night's video, if you guys were so inclined to watch, we know that we got to make a patch panel for the front corner of this bed and a lip down here for that cross member so that I have something to spot weld my new panel to. eBay special. I can't believe I found it, but this came off of a wrecked truck that was swatted in the passenger side. This came off eBay. It cost me about $100 for that panel, and those panels are available. They're a little difficult to find. You got to kind of snoop around, but by the time you pay the ridiculous shipping from the places who want to ship them, you're at almost 200 and some bucks, $250 for that panel, unless you have a key parts or keystone or something around you and you're a body shop and you get better deals than the layman such as moi. Well, I ordered that, and there's also available if anybody needs a driver side bedside for one of these 99 to 06 Chevy Silverados. There's also one of those available. The passenger side was foobarred on that truck, but they had that header panel for sale and the driver's side box side for an 8-foot bed, not a 6.5, this is a short bed here. So it had a little bit of crust starting on the inner fender well, but if you have one that's smashed beyond recognition and you need to change one, go search eBay, and they've got one for sale for $150. It is in Michigan, so if anybody is in that area and needs one, you know, for $150 for a box side, and you pick it up, that means no shipping. That's a pretty hell of a deal. I mean, those box sides for an 8-foot bed, I think, are about $800 a piece, unless you get an aftermarket, and I think you can get them a little bit cheaper, but not much. I think they're still $400 a piece, and you still have to pay to get them shipped if you don't have a local distributor. So I'm going to get that done today. Just figured I'd give you guys a heads up on that if anybody needs it. This stuff, I got lucky. It was the only one I could find for sale for that header panel, and it's in good shape, and it doesn't take hardly anything to put it on. They already drilled all the spot welds out nice. The only rust on it is a little bit in those side pieces, and all I'm going to do is grind that rust off and get some etch on it, and I'm going to put some weld through primer on the back side of that where I got to weld it up to there. Same thing with those areas. I'll clean those up and put weld through on those before I put it in. I also took measurements from here to the same spot on the other side, and then from here to the same spot on the other side, so I knew I'd keep the bed square, or where it was originally at least. because the only thing that holds the width on this is that header panel, because it can let it bow out. The bottom is somewhat fixed, but if the top isn't at the right spot, the bottom can tip in a little bit or tip out depending. You can only pull this thing so tight, given the size of the panel, because these corners here don't get welded, they just tuck under in here. Nothing, no real magic to that. And we can see mine rotted out in here. And what I'm going to do when I get this thing together is stick my spray wand probably down in through one of these little areas here, so I can shoot oil all along. I'm pointing at nothing here. All along in this part, because that's where it rotted. When I put this panel back on, after I get all the fug-is-it off of there, I will grind this back. This will all be etch primed, and have some sealer put over it, and I will run a bead of 2-part seam sealer along this guy right here, because that's where the water lays. I guess you could say it wouldn't hurt to put a little along here, but there was none from the factory, and I'm not going to grind all that bed liner back on my sides where it's still intact and holding well. I'm just going to feather it back where it's screwed up there and call that happy. So that's for a later today project, maybe tomorrow project. For now, I'll let you guys watch me block stand here, and we'll have a little BS session, because I like that kind. If you don't like it, maybe now it's time to turn the video off. This is not a how-to. This is what I'm doing. This is it. Welcome to Velvet's Garage. So I got a couple sheets of 400 in this bucket, and it's about time to change them. They do not last forever. Figure out where the hell the other sheet is. It's somewhere probably rolled up in a ball on the bottom of this bucket. Maybe. Maybe I only threw a sheet of 600 in there. Hell, I don't know. Maybe it's wrapped up in the sheet of 600. It is. Alright. So this is coming out pretty good. I broke through in one spot on that driver front door. If you watched yesterday's video, you probably heard me cussing about it, because I was lazy and didn't tape the paper down real tight. The paper blew up into it, but c'est la vie, it happens. It'd be nice if I could do this outside, but it's a messy job. I don't like slopping up my floors, but oh well. If you notice, I'm kind of cross sanding it one way here, going up at a diagonal, and I will come back across it at the other angle. And until you really break through this stuff, it's hard to keep the paper from loading up. That's the one nice thing about dry sanding. You can just keep blowing your paper off. This, you got to keep dunking it, but I prefer to wet sand because I feel it gives a better end result. That may or may not be true, but it's the way I learned. It's old school, but it's the way I like to do it. I guess it's sort of therapeutic at times. And for those of you guys just tuning in, and maybe want to learn how to block sand a little bit, basically the end result you want is so that all these edges are almost transparent. Now you'll see some dark areas that look like scratches, and that's where the primer is filling the scratch from previous. Because I had this prepped up in 220, probably, in a circle there was a spot up here, and then all the way up into here was prepped in 220. I'm probably still going to put another coat of primer on these because I don't know if I like how they're turning out or not. I feel like I'm still seeing some ringing. If you remember, maybe I pointed it out, maybe I neglected to point it out, but everywhere there was a stone chip, you can see my wet finger marks on here. Pretend those are stone chips. Well, I took the rust wheel and got down to shiny metal, and then took the DA with 180 and feathered all that paint back to the best of my ability, and then went over the whole thing with some 220 to feather it out farther to try and get about around a quarter to a half inch feather back in all the paint areas so that we wouldn't have this problem. But sometimes it still happens, especially for a novice such as myself. So make sure if you're doing this out of a bucket that you have a bucket full of clean water, not a dirty ass old bucket that you, certainly not one that you wash your car with, certainly not one that you feed your animals with, not one you put salt in for slinging around for ice control. You want a bucket that has only been probably repurposed once, or buy a brand new bucket and keep it for such. Do not use it for other things. Do not let it sit on the floor full of water while you are grinding rust or spot sandblasting or any of the above. You want to keep it clean. Also, I have these sponges that I cut up just so that I can wipe the wet sanding sludge off. Now I'm pretty much doing this in real time for you guys so you can see that it doesn't take a long time if, I repeat the word if you did your due diligence when you feathered out all the existing paint underneath. This is not an extremely high build primer. This is a 2K direct metal primer, which I didn't use it as a direct metal primer because I had epoxy over this whole area before I started. But the one thing I like about doing it that way, when you break back to the epoxy, you know to stop because it's darker and you won't hit your bare metal usually if you So I'm going to sand this until all that guide coat has disappeared. You definitely want to be careful on your edges. You don't want to roll the sandpaper under that. I will take a Scotch-Brite and scuff those edges before I put the base coat on, or before I put an additional coat of primer on. But you don't want to roll that sandpaper over the edge because you will be back down to bare metal before you know it. You kind of, with experience, you'll know to use, see my fingers are out on this edge, you'll kind of guide that block so that you don't roll over that bottom edge. I mean, the door is concave. It does roll down. So if you break through it, it's not the end of the world. You load the gun up, or you put some etch on there to cover that bare steel up, because base coat and bare steel don't go hand in hand. Not only do you have no corrosion protection, but a lot of times what will happen if you have a bare steel edge like that is when you spray unactivated base coat, you will lift that edge, because base coat is 1K, meaning there's no hardener in it, no catalyst, whatever you want to call it, which sometimes I will put catalyst in it if the situation and the product calls for it. It makes for better reworkability, so if you do screw something up and have an issue, it'll harden that base coat up so that it is a catalyzed product and you shouldn't have further issues with it. Another thing, if you have some issues where you have a little lifting situation where the paint wants to pick up around a feather edge or something like that. Get some waterborne primer and dust that on there, a couple coats, and give it a little scuffy job when it dries. And a lot of times that is a in the paint booth save your ass trick. Another thing I'd like to touch base on, I think keeping up with some of the guys' vids here, Dave's Custom, give you a shout out, buddy. I really like what you had to say the other day, and I don't know if you're subscribed to me or you watch my videos or any of that, but going back to kicking a dead horse, talking about learning body and paint and stuff like that. You mentioned something about how a lot of body shop supply places will give you enough information to let you hang yourself. Same thing with body shops. Most body shops, you can't walk in and get them to give you any help. They're there to do a job for a profit, to pay their employees, to pay their bills, and to be in business and make money. So you certainly can't fault them for that. And that's why the YouTube thing is such a neat thing, because a lot of guys really share those inside tips and tricks. And I'm thankful for that, for sure. You know, I guess there is a little voodoo to body work, you know, stuff that people don't tell you or don't want you to know, because just like anything, if you had to teach yourself and nobody really showed you the right path to go, you feel that knowledge is worth something and you really don't want to just give it away. So that's what makes YouTube cool. A lot of these guys, even though they own that knowledge and they've worked hard to own it, they still share it. That doesn't mean it's all right, depending on what paint system you're using and what the application is. But there is a lot of guys out there that have been doing this for a long time, 5, 10, 20, 30 or more years. And I got a lot of respect for those guys, because they're the guys who paid their dues, are doing it, and are helping us too. So, another thing I want to touch base on, getting under the bullshit subject here, this one's for Chief. He was having some problems monetizing his videos, and I don't want to say I'm the guru of monetizing videos. I try and monetize them all, because it's free money as far as I'm concerned. I'm not trying to get rich off of it, but $100 is $100, and I'll be honest with you, I've monetized my videos since I started last January and haven't been paid yet because there's just not enough hits on them. So, you know, whatever. I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's not my sole source of income. But it certainly would be neat to be able to make a few bucks to buy a new tool or, you know, upgrade some equipment or, you know, anything like that. So, anyway, Chief was having problems monetizing his videos, and YouTube had said that something to the effect that he does not own the commercial rights to his content, and he's having trouble with that. So the only thing I can think, YouTube does not like a couple of things when it comes to videos in general, and especially when you're trying to monetize them. YouTube does not like trademarked items in your video unless you have the sole written consent from that that manufacturer that says you have our permission to use this. Big names like, I guess the ones I'd be concerned about would be like everyday things that people know, and I can't think of anything directly off the top of my mind, but let's say Coca-Cola. I mean, they're very big on their trademarks and copyrights. things like that. They don't like music because music is copyrighted unless you have the express written consent from the copyright holder of that track that says you are allowed to use it. Now you have to prove that to YouTube if you're going to use it. There's also royalty-free music, but again, I believe there is a way to prove that you have the consent to use that in your video. Now, I haven't noticed any music in his videos, so I don't think that's the problem. So I'm not really sure about that. Those are a couple quick, off-the-cuff guesses. The other thing they don't like is, I guess, general gruesomeness, things that are meant to shock and scare and generally upset people. They don't like that kind of stuff, but again, there's not any of that stuff in the videos that I watch, and I try and watch all his videos. I don't think of really what else is all on their no-no list, and you can contact them and ask them specifically. But a lot of times, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's music. They will give you a strike on your videos. I'll give you an example. A video that they impounded of mine. I went to a water skiing show, and a lot of you guys watched that video, and I did not monetize that video, but they were playing pop-type music in the background for the show. You know, each act had kind of their own little song that went along with it. Well, YouTube pulled that video on me because it said I didn't have the rights to have it, and I know it was because of the music. Which is okay. I mean, it is what it is. I wasn't trying to make money, and I knew because of the music in the video that it may be a problem. But a lot of guys have music in their background. Maybe YouTube strikes their videos all the time about it, but you'll get to a point where you'll piss them off, and they won't let you make videos, period. You won't be able to upload videos anymore. So you got to be super careful with that. Some people get away with it more than others, and you know, I really don't have a problem with it. I'm not complaining for sure. But when you're going to monetize a video, you go into the settings for your monetization, and you basically have to say that you own the rights. And the way the old YouTube used to work, you had to type out I guess a little paragraph or a couple of sentences at least to say and state that you own the rights to the content and it belongs to you. Now, I don't know if that is such the case. It probably is to some extent. I know in the video uploader, there's like a tab. Basically, you click on that, and the first time you ever click on that, it asks you that, or it wants to confirm that you understand that you have to own the rights to all the content in the video. And they don't ask you to type that little paragraph any longer, which you used to have to do with everyone. So that's my 2 cents on that. I don't know a lot about it. I'm not having any problems with it. I ain't making no money either, but they're not removing my videos because of anything like that, because I make sure not to have any music in my videos. I always turn the music off while I'm working and talking to you guys. So that's what I know. Do I own that information? Not really. It's just my 2 cents. That's what little bit I know. So somebody who might know more about that is Vloggin' Life. Go check out his channel. I just subbed to him, and he does a lot of, it's mostly vlog type stuff, and it's about gaming and stuff like that, which I'm not into, but it's also a lot of computer stuff. And he seems to have a pretty good handle on what's what when it comes to how to work the YouTube experience. So this is pretty much done. I'm going to go over it now that I've blocked it out. I'm going to wipe it off. And I got a little funk here still on the bottom of this door I got to take care of. It's hard to do it with the doors closed, but if they're all the way open, you can't see what I'm doing. Again, being very careful not to roll this paper over the edge of that door. We're almost ready. Basically what I do after this is I will take that 320 sheet on the little foam backer type thing. Yeah. My guide coat's about disappeared, and I'm starting to see epoxy right along this bottom edge, which I know I've got to be really careful of that because I don't want to cut through it. And get down to bare metal if I can avoid it. This is just kind of a final, because it's a contoured surface, this is my final way to make sure that my edges are the way I like them and all that guide coat is gone. This is just kind of a quickie. I see another edge where my epoxy is starting to show. And that's not a problem as long as you don't break through it. I've done that with the 320, and I'm going to do it with the 5-600 now, just to fuzz those edges a little bit more. This isn't a metallic, so I don't really need to go quite so crazy with it, but I like it smooth. Transitions have to be perfect, or you will see that line after your paint job. This is also with this sanding pad, this is my way of making sure that where that door starts to roll down doesn't have a giant flat spot on it. And that's it. I'll probably check it out a little bit more just to make sure, but I'm pretty confident I'm going to throw another prime on these doors for a good time. So that's it. That's probably 20 minutes already. Oh yeah, almost 30. So there's my bullshit session for the morning. But that's it. That's what I'm going to do. That may have been even further than I needed to go if I'm going to reprime this. But that's what I want. So, alright guys, hope you enjoyed that. Sorry if I bored you to death with my bullshit session here this morning, but I figured I had a couple things to touch base on, so I'll catch you later. Prime time number 2. Alright, now I get to pick that bug that I just blew into that spot out. There we go. Quick as that. I'll put one more coat on it, and I'll probably be sanding this in 2 or 3 hours. Later.